Going on to the political part of the podcast, you have Biden as well as Trump going to go visit the UAW strike on Tuesday. So they're both scheduled to go, and the UAW pretends to withhold their endorsement for the next president of the United States. Now, it looks like, quote, Tuesday, I'll go to Michigan to join the picket line and stand in solidarity with these men and women of the UAW as they fight for a fair share of the value they helped create. The guy, yeah. Unquote. Now, apparently this is tweeted by Biden, but we all know it's Karine Jean-Pierre since she's the one who really does the tweets. And I'm not even joking. She actually tweeted something from her personal Twitter profile, and her vocabulary was from the president's perspective. So, needless to say, this is probably from Karine Jean-Pierre as well. And she's not even a farmer. She doesn't know pears. She doesn't even bring a pear. Doesn't even have the courtesy to bring pears to the press conferences. All those reporters have to ask her all the questions, and she has to dodge them like she's playing dodgeball. Doesn't even have the common courtesy to bring them some fresh fruit. Ridiculous. Needless to say, I do give away pizza parties every once in a while for my company. Kind of have to. Comes with the name. But nevertheless, it looks like they claim, and this is another quote from the president's or Trump's side, quote, the only reason Biden is going to Michigan on Tuesday is because President Trump announced he'll be going on Wednesday, unquote. And this is from the Trump campaign giving out a statement last Friday. Now, let's see here. They say that Trump plans to travel to Detroit to speak at a rally advertised for auto workers as he tries to win back some blue-collar voters who defected to Biden to his victory in 2020. Trump has called for a rank-and-file union workers to ignore their leaders. And it's one of those things where I don't know if Trump doesn't drink, so we can't say he's drunk in his thoughts right here. But trying to get the union leaders to to endorse Trump, if you look at the campaign donations from the unions in terms of the United Auto Workers, they were one of the reasons Obama won his presidential campaign. They give a lot to politicians. It's one of the reasons their dues are so high when you join a union, or rather when you're coerced to join a union. But the whole purpose of a union, in terms of like their work ethic, their mentality, they have this relationship with the government that's very symbiotic, especially like the teachers union, where the teachers union will get politicians elected, and in turn, politicians will give them huge raises. And yet, students have the lowest test scores ever. But we just got to keep paying them more and more, of course. But when it comes to UAW, they've been voting and giving money to Democrats for not just like 1 or 2 years. We're talking decades. The whole culture is from a Democrat perspective. I see what Trump is trying to do. But let me know in the comments. There's no way he's getting the endorsement. Sean Fain, who is the president of the United Auto Workers, he's going to give to Biden. Now, Sean Fain he's a politician in and of itself, but it's one of those things where he is really hoping, and he's dependent on Biden right now. He wants Biden to come in and rule with an iron fist and have the government force the big three to basically bankrupt themselves by giving the UAW the largest raise in history. Again, the original ask for $80 billion per big three over the 4-year contract. That's a lot of cash. And before this contract renegotiation, their prices are already the most expensive in the automotive community. Tesla's cost of labor is much cheaper. The car is also much more American in terms of the percentage of parts made in the United States. And granted, a Tesla won't last 10 to 20 years, but would a GM last any longer? I'm only moderately kidding. But I think for sure there's no way, and let me know in the comments, if you're in the UAW, I'd love to hear your experience. Would Sean Fain ever endorse Trump? I don't think it's ever happened before in terms of the UAW endorsing a Republican candidate. It seems to be the antithesis of their culture. But I think Trump could maybe win a couple of union workers who aren't happy with the current leadership. So if you look at who is voting for and who supports Sean Fain from the union perspective, he didn't win like 99% of the vote. There's always a contentious battle going back and forth. So there are some people who don't agree with his approach with the strike. They're not happy. They don't think he's going hard enough. Some people think he's going too hard. Just like in all politics, you never get 100% of the vote. But Trump maybe will get a couple of those blue-collar folks back. I think again, Trump needs to do this in terms of moves on the political chessboard. Talk about inflation. Talk about taxes, which is the most hilarious, ironic thing about UAW. They helped get Biden elected, and Biden's the one banning ICE cars, internal combustion engine cars. The things that make the unions the most money, he's getting rid of. It's a de facto ban. If you look at the EPA, they're raising the fleet averages for tailpipe emissions to such an absurd rate. The only way you could hit those numbers is if you have an EV in your fleet and become more and more EV dependent. It's not the consumers demanding it, it's the government forcing it, unfortunately. So, again, Trump really needs to start emphasizing those two things. Is, focus on every time you get your paycheck, the government's taking 30-40% on federal level alone. The state's taking another, 9 to 10% depending on where you live. When you buy something at the store, it's another 10% for sales tax. Again, Trump needs to be saying, Biden's been in charge. This guy's been in charge for the past 4 years. How's your paycheck been looking? Look at the taxes, they're huge. That might have been the worst impression you hear all week, but nevertheless, as long as it made you smile and entertain you, I'll be moderately happy. But seriously, Trump needs to go to these rallies and say, look at your paychecks. Imagine if you got to keep all of your paycheck. What if a politician, again, no one would ever do this, but what if a politician actually said, we're going to repeal the federal income tax? People in America forget it's not that old of a thing. We didn't have it for most of the time the United States has been around. We didn't have a bloody income tax. Or, I'm sorry, I'm American. We didn't have a goddamn income tax. We used to kill Brits to get away from the tea tax. It's one of the things where World War II came along and the government goes, first they asked for volunteer. You go, hey, if you feel more patriotic, give us a little money, help out for the war. Then they said, hey, we're going to have a temporary fund. We need some income just for the war. We promise when the war's done, we'll stop stealing your money. And of course, that never happened because the government there's no such thing as a temporary tax. And then it's been repeated time and time again. I've never seen them go away, unfortunately. So, Trump, what if he said, hey, if you like me, I'll repeal the federal income tax. Goes to every one of those blue-collar workers and say, well, you got to keep 100% of your money on a federal level, which the President of the United States presumably could do with maybe the executive order. There's got to be some mechanism to get rid of that disgusting law that steals 30 to 40 to 50%. So much of your money is stolen from you. At the end of the day, how much of that dollar is really yours? I think if he can really emphasize the issues that these blue-collar people, and I would say all Americans really care about, the grocery bills, inflation. Again, Biden's been in charge. No, but Trump's really not, I don't think, articulating that as much as he could. So maybe this trip could win over a couple of the UAW members. I think that's possible. But really, I think this is just in terms of Biden and the UAW, it's a strategic opportunity for the UAW to try to have Biden step in with an iron fist and get them what they want. And it'll be interesting to see. Biden does, I think he's going to get their endorsement by default, basically. And he does, people there's many different political commentators saying he really needs it because Biden's approvals are going down. But again, the people in the unions have been voting Democrat for so many decades. Does it really matter if he doesn't get this one recent endorsement? Because again, who's going to primary Joe? That's another topic in and of itself. But people say there's a lot of support for RFK. People forget that Democrats use superdelegates. There was a time where the American public actually voted. They really wanted Bernie Sanders. That's not what the DNC party wanted. So they rigged it. Used superdelegates for Hillary Clinton because they thought she had a higher odds of success on a national level. So again, that's why I don't think RFK is going to go anywhere, unfortunately, as much as I appreciate one or two of his ideas. I think realistically, again, the odds are worse to go independent because you need more signatures, a lot of issues there. But I think for him, that's realistically the only outlet. So let me know in the comments, at this point, with the incumbency of voting Democrat for decades and Biden having the presidency incumbency as well, do you think the UAW endorsement even matters these days? Again, the members have been voting Democrat for decades, not years. And old habits are hard to break, some might say. So let me know. I can't help but think might help Trump a little bit. And in terms of moves on chessboard, it does make Biden look like he's on the defensive, seeing him being more reactive in this situation. But let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in. I greatly appreciate it. Also, taking the time to comment helps the channel grow and develop. Don't forget we're giving a free flamethrower with every July, or actually, wow, time flies, with every September purchase at toppingtechnologies.com. Click the website for additional details. Also, thank you so much. I really appreciate the feedback. If you can take the time to click that subscribe button, trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of the month. So I greatly appreciate you clicking that button. Also, don't forget to take the time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.